Okay, so chill out and relax. I think we all need that, and it looks like we need it. So we will just start sitting, and I will sit on the heels, on my heels, so sitting back onto the heels. You could have your knees together, knees wide apart, but you could sit on a chair, you could sit cross-legged. Even if you sit like this and you want to sit maybe on a block, just to give a bit more space or something underneath your ankles, then go ahead. Because really today, I have all my cushions, belts, blankets, everything is here. And as we start to move, really make use of your props, because the props are there for us to be able to let go and to relax. So we're there to really enjoy them. We'll start sitting, and we'll start with Apana Mudra, which is where you have your thumb and your ring finger and middle finger is touching. So the index finger and little finger are stretching out, and the other fingertips are touching. And you can rest your hands on your knees, on your lap, so wherever it's comfortable. And you're welcome to close the eyes if that feels good. But Apana Mudra is to connect with the Apana energy, which is what we will really connect with today. So just taking a few moments, just settling in and breathe. And you don't have to sit still. You might have a swaying or rocking. Not that you will be doing that, but it might just happen. And just as we are seated, Apana Vayu, or the movement of Apana Vayu in the body, is associated with the pelvis and down through the legs. So there's that connection of the pelvis, the organs of the pelvis, and then down through the legs. So that's a mudra, Apana Vayu, or Apana Mudra, the ring and middle fingers touching the thumbs. Apana Vayu is associated with elimination. This includes urination, it includes childbirth, menstruation, ejaculation. So anything that moves downwards and outwards. And it keeps us grounded. So imagine in this mudra and the energy that you're creating, that anything that needs to be eliminated or releasing downwards, you're creating space for that to happen. And then notice the breath. So Apana Vayu, again associated with the exhale, so the release, the letting go. And as we move into this session, the focus can be of letting go. The focus would be around our pelvis and hips. So the seat of Apana Vayu. And we are moving in the very dark phases of the moon. So towards the very dark moon before it shines again and grows, which we will then next week embrace with heart opening process in the relaxation sessions. So let's just take a deep breath in and sigh it out. Again, deep breath in. And let it go. And just enjoy that deep inhale. And the long exhale. So we will transition into child's pose, and we'll be in child's pose quite a few times. So again, you really notice what's going on in your knees and in your ankles. So there should never be pain in your knee joints or in your ankle joints. And some of you I know will modify, and you modify how it feels good for you. So if child's pose doesn't work, maybe you just lie with your knees hugging in on your back. If child's pose is not so easy, you could take a blanket underneath your ankles or some socks or something else, and maybe you have a couple of cushions between your calves and your buttocks, and then you can come into a child's pose. So just shifting into your child's pose variation. You might be very happy in child's pose, having your, sitting on your heels, resting the hip down. But these are just options if your ankles or if your knees are sensitive. These are options that you can do. Otherwise, just be in a comfortable position. Some of us might just not really work with that, and then that's fine. So child's pose, just imagining that sense of being grounded, steady, close to the earth, feeling supported, and feeling the body breathing. So as we are moving into this darkness of the moon, what are you letting go of? What do you intend to release? Go ahead and shift back to your hands and knees. And we'll shift straight into a pigeon pose. So here, I'm going to use a bolster in front of me, but you might have lots of cushions. We'll take the right knee forward, the foot slightly towards the left side of the mat, and you can walk your right leg back. So again, if you have your rolled up blanket, you can take the blanket underneath your pelvis. Maybe you choose to take your cushion underneath your hips. So find space. So for those of you who have a little bit of sensitivity in your knees, have your foot much closer towards you, prop up even higher. And for those where pigeon pose just doesn't work, lying on the front, you can lie on the back, same position. But what's nice, if you have cushions in front of you or a bolster, you could rest over the bolster so you're not all the way on the floor, but you could hug your cushions and just fold forward. And so this might feel intense because we haven't been warming up our bodies. So be really gentle and kind for your body. So as the intention is simply just to rest, to let go, to breathe. Then find a little bit of alignment just so you know you're in the right spot. But once you've done that, just soften. You don't have to go deeper. You don't have to open more. You just want to be in the perfect position. And so just then, aside for those of you who are enjoying this lying on your back, you could easily bend that left knee and just have the left foot on the floor and just cross the right leg over. You don't have to hug the left knee in. The left foot could be on the floor, and you just have a little bit of opening as if you are sitting with your hips open. Good. So we'll start to lift all the way up. And I'll take my bolster that was in front just to the side. And we'll swing the left leg all the way around. So now we have the left leg forward. And we'll hug the right knee towards us. So we are sitting up. Take your right leg across your left leg. And again, listening to your knees. We'll start to drop that right knee down. The left foot, or the right foot towards the left hip. Almost like cow's pose legs. But we'll keep the left leg straight. So you can start to take that right heel towards your left hip, allowing that knee to drop down. That doesn't work for all of us, so you just find the variation that's good for you. Bring your fingertips behind your lifted chest. And maybe you choose to stay here, or maybe you start to shift to the front of your sitting bones, as if you could fold over that top leg, the right leg. And if you have all your cushions near you, you could take a few cushions on top of that top leg and just fold over and resting over your cushions. If this is a challenging position, you can use cushions underneath your seat as well. So you raise your seat a little bit, or a lot. Really just that time to inquire, to be, to breathe. You don't need to be in the most advanced, deep stretch. Sometimes that softness and ease is more challenging. Notice how it is to breathe as you fold forward. Just a couple of more breaths. Let's go ahead and rise all the way back up. Just taking your cushions to the side, we'll take the right leg to the inside of the left leg. And then shift onto your right shin, lifting the hips. Left arm can come beyond the head. You can just rest your elbow if that feels good. Just a little bit of an openness. So once again, let's come back to the hands and knees. And then come into child's pose. So in child's pose, maybe this time you'll make fists with your hands and rest your hands all the way onto your lower belly. So you fold over your hands. If that's uncomfortable, just don't do it. When I do this, my head doesn't come all the way to the floor, so I will use my blocks. So you can have blocks of support underneath your head. But if this doesn't feel good, then just let your hands go. Or if you feel claustrophobic, bring your knees apart. And allow your breath to deepen all the way into the lower abdomen. So you can imagine on a physical level that you connect to this Apana Vayu, or the seed of Apana, which is the pelvis, the lower abdomen. And so as you start to connect with this, perhaps it's easier to let go, not just in your digestion or for your menstrual cycle, but letting go on all levels. Physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. We are creating space to let go. We can start to rise back up to come onto the hands and knees. And in a moment we'll come into Pigeon Pose again, but with the left leg forward. So maybe you have your cushions ready to lean over. You could have your blocks and cushions to lean over. And I'll have my blanket underneath the pelvis. So the left leg comes forward. The shin could be parallel to the front of the mat, but listen to your knees. So the heel could come much further in if you have sensitive knees. Some of you are rotating on to lie on your back and having that same leg position. So when you're ready, you can simply fold forward, resting over your support if you have support in front of you. Or maybe you don't have enough cushions, in which case you could just have a block or maybe your fist underneath your head. And here you can rest. And again, we'll stay here for a few moments. And it's really just time for you to breathe, to rest. Maybe observe what is coming up, physically or in your mind. Allowing the in-breath to move into any space where you might have tension or restriction, or maybe a place where you are not feeling anything. And then allow the exhale to connect with this energy of Apana, the out-breath, the letting go, the elimination. What are you holding on to that you no longer need, that's no longer serving you? And that might simply be that you are tensing your jaw right now, or you're squeezing your buttocks. Or it might be a thought pattern. So allowing the letting go. And so when you're ready, you can lift the chest all the way back up. Take your props to the side. So you can swing your right leg all the way forward. And cross the left leg over the right. Maybe draw that heel towards your right hip. And for some of us, maybe dropping the knees slightly down. But again, you check in what feels good. It might just be you're kind of sitting cross-legged. Sit on props if that feels good for your body. And if you enjoyed all the props in front of you, just put all your props on the top of your left leg and fold it forward. So that might feel like a quite intense stretch in that right leg, and that's okay. Let your breath deepen. And so maybe as we start to slow down through these practices, maybe our breath will calm down. Maybe the thought patterns or the fluctuations of the mind will start to calm down. And just 2 more breaths here. And then you can sit all the way up. Place your cushions to one side. And we'll take the left leg to the inside of the right, almost like tree pose. And we'll come all the way up onto the left shin. So stretching out the right leg. Right arm above the head, just find a bit of openness. So the folding inwards is nice and introspective, but we also don't want to feel too heavy. So this can be a bit of an openness. Let's come back to the hands and knees and take a moment once again in your child's pose variation. Maybe this time you have your knees wide apart, and then you can walk your hands forward, your chest or your head to the floor, whichever variation you enjoy. So just taking a few moments in child's pose again. Just as a way to reset. So from our child's pose, we can slide all the way forward into Sphinx pose. So we rest the pelvis to the floor, the belly to the floor, the shoulders over the elbows. We're just in a little bit of a back bend again. So find length through the lower back and maybe just look over your right shoulder, over your left shoulder, just releasing tension in the neck. Let go of any tension in the jaw. And unless you have any specific issues in your lower back, just relax your buttocks, relax your belly. So we're just keeping it nice and soft. And so as a transition, we'll come all the way down towards the earth. So we'll lie down flat on the abdomen. Maybe your hands are in a prayer, pointing forward or towards the sky. Maybe your hands underneath your head. But take this moment to really let your legs relax. So my feet are quite far apart just because that's where they ended up when I was lying down. So find where it feels comfortable in your body. There's no effort. This is like a prostration pose. You know, so many spiritual practices have the prostration, the surrendering. So perhaps we can take a moment to offer our practice, offer whatever might be holding us back. Allowing ourselves to let go of any unnecessary tension or stress. Let's roll all the way around so we face towards the ceiling again, and you can bend your knees, feet on the floor, so your knees point to the ceiling, feet on the ground. So before we get too comfortable, get your props. So definitely have your props around you, and we will, for most of us, use a yoga belt or a scarf. Now if you don't have it, it's not a problem. So maybe we have to come up to sitting. So we will lie down in a minute with one leg up towards the sky. If you have a really long belt like me, you can make a big loop. So taking the belt through kind of both middle bits or however your belt works. So you have like a secure kind of circle. So if this is your variation, you will take the belt underneath your armpits like this and your right foot into the belt. So not all of us have these long belts, but if you do, that will be your variation. If you're using a scarf or anything else, then you simply take your belt or scarf across the ball of your foot and you hold on to the belt. So just in a very relaxed way. And the right foot towards the ceiling. If the leg on the floor feels uncomfortable straight, you just bend it. So just do whichever way feels comfortable. And your leg might be pointing further away from you, your knee might be slightly bent. So find the support you need, especially if you have your yoga belt underneath your armpits. So even as we extend the leg or the foot towards the sky, the thigh bone is resting into the pelvis. And we have that nice connection once again to the pelvis, the seat of Vata dosha. Finding that sweet spot where you feel that extension and openness of the leg, yet it's still at ease. So in a moment, we will open up that right leg towards the right side. So this is where it's nice to have support. So maybe you have lots of cushions right near your right hip. Maybe you have a yoga block. Maybe you have a chair, or maybe your bed is there. And then you can rest your leg onto your bed, to your sofa. I'm having it on the cushions. I'm still using my hand to support the belt. If you have the belt around the rib cage, if it feels fine still having that, no problem. If you prefer to take it out, you just take it off. So you want to, again, have a space where something is happening, but you are not, you can stay here, you can breathe. Allowing that right shoulder to relax. And you might even have that leg up against the wall. Are you allowing yourself support to take it easy on yourself? Are you allowing yourself not to struggle to reach and to simply be? Let's bring that right leg towards the sky again and hug the right knee in and hug the left knee in. So just give yourself a hug, maybe hugging onto your shins or to the back of the thighs. So giving yourself a little bit of a caress. This pose, this is a yoga pose. Like child's pose, just the other way around. This is called Apanasana. So a movement to encourage Apana. So again, that outward movement of elimination. So if you feel you have a lot of wind, or it's challenging to eliminate, then this is a good pose to be in. So that's fine. Better out than in, as we like to say. So let's enjoy this on the other side. You can extend or press a right foot to the floor or stretch it. So whichever way feels good. Take your belt across the ball of your left leg, or if you have that long belt, take it underneath the armpits, adjust so you can just hang out. Again, the foot doesn't need to be behind your head. just wherever you can let it be. And so especially at the moment, it can be such a challenge finding the balance of being active and do things and find our energy and inspiration and motivation, even just to move around, get the heartbeat going for a walk. And we need all of that. But all the stresses are mental and emotional. So we also need a way to soothe and relax our nervous system. That can be through movement, but also taking time to be. Like right now, you're not doing, you're just being. Taking it slow, receiving support. We'll stay here for a few more breaths. So in a moment we will open the left leg out to the left side. So I'll put my cushions or adjust so that I have support underneath that left hip, and then the leg can extend. So you could have the belt, if you have the belt still underneath you and it feels fine, you can keep the belt as it is, or you just hold on to your belt or your scarf. And then let the body settle. And if you're reaching or searching, then just notice that and then let it go. You don't have to have the leg down to the floor. There is no perfect variation. There's not an advanced variation. It's just the perfect pose for you this moment. Take the next couple of breaths to let go of tension in your fingers, the tongue, the jaw, all the way down through the hips, the buttocks, the legs. Just stay here and take a very deep breath in and out. Deep inhale. And sigh out. Let's bring that left leg all the way back up to the ceiling and hug the knee in. And hug the right knee in. So again, giving yourself a nice hug. Place the feet flat on the floor and just have your feet and knees probably mat distance apart or a little bit wider than your hips. We'll drop the knees towards the left side, but because the feet and the knees are wide apart, they will also stay wide apart as they drop down. So you could have your cushions underneath your thighs or underneath the knees or between your legs. So I'm just coming up to sitting, but the nice variation is to just drop the knees to the side. And if it's easy, you could take the left ankle over your right knee like that. But otherwise, prop up with your cushions because this should feel comfortable or no pain at least. We say the pelvis might be the seat of Apana Vayu, of Vata dosha, but it's also associated with the element of earth and water, with the energetic system of the modern kind of chakra system. And those energies are associated with emotions. It's associated with the Muladhara chakra, the root center, our sense of security, safety, our family, which may be the family that we choose later in life, our friends, our biological family, our adoptive or foster families, our tribe, feeling secure and at home. Bring the knees back up again. And drop your knees in the opposite direction. So again, knees are apart, feet are apart if that's comfortable. Maybe that right ankle on top of the left knee. Or you have plenty of cushions between or underneath your knees. The watery element is the Svadhisthana chakra. And this is again about feeling safe in ourselves, our creativity, sexuality, expression. And so for so many of us, these are still things that we are working through. Continuous journey of letting go and healing, restore. So when we practice hip openers, sometimes it feels very emotional. And then a physical level, here we have the hip flexors, the psoas muscle. So again, the association with our fight, flight, freeze, or rest and digest. So now you are letting go of some of those responses that have been accumulating over time. And slowly bring the knees back to the chest again. We can hug the knees in. So in a moment we'll move into our final variation before we come to sitting. And it's Supta Baddha Konasana. So we'll stay lying down, and I'll suggest lots of cushions here. We'll have the feet on the floor, so we can bring the feet together, drop the knees apart, the soles of the feet meet. Now, if you have lots of cushions, then have cushions on either side of your hips so that your knees are supported, so you're not just stretching. If you have bolsters, you could have bolsters underneath. And if you have a bolster, cushions, or even blocks, you could have that underneath your chest if you wanted to lift your chest. But taking the variation that feels good, however high you want it. If you have extra blankets, you might want to have a blanket on you. But otherwise, you could have a blanket over your feet. And just turn around sitting up. But you could have a blanket over your feet and then kind of underneath your thighs as well. So you could have a bit of support. So the soles of your feet are pressing together with the blanket, and the rest of the blanket is underneath your hips or next to your hips. And then you could choose to have all your cushions or blocks near you as well for extra support. But that's quite nice for that extra support as well. So literally just on top of the feet and then by your hips. And then you can just lie down on your back or lie down on your support behind you, or stay seated if it feels too much. And knowing you can come out of these variations at any time. You can have your arms wherever you want. So that might be out to the side to open the chest. It might be on your body if that feels more secure. And as you stay in this variation, again, just let the body breathe. Maybe you sigh, maybe you yawn. It's taking this time to just breathe. So as we have the intention of letting go, of releasing what we no longer need, of any grasping or holding on, we are creating space for nourishment, for nurturing, for support, perhaps for better breath or deeper breath, better digestion. Maybe our organs can start to find their perfect position. As we don't hold on anymore, we can digest better. Just a few more moments here. Let's take a very deep breath in and sigh it out. Just do that twice more in your own rhythm. That deep, complete breath in and the slow breath out. You can of course stay here or just slide into Shavasana. But if you're finishing with me, then you just slowly bring your knees together, hugging the knees in for a few breaths. And so we will come up to sitting in a moment. So when you're ready to come up to sitting, just roll to the side and maybe take a few moments resting on the side. Just knowing that you are, well, maybe you are in a rush, maybe not. You might even take a moment in your Apana Mudra, the index finger, middle finger, ring finger and middle finger and thumbs together. And so again, for this moment, the allowing of letting go. So we created the fertile soil to plant new seeds as we are moving into the next lunar cycle. So the letting go in the dark moon, and we have the new moon coming. And so our next relaxation session is open to receive. So we will connect with the area around our heart at that time. So again, feel grounded and connected to the earth beneath you. And through this steady and grounded place, you can rise up. So the lotus grows out of the mud. So this is what we're doing, growing our spine, our head, the perfect Padma, the perfect lotus. And we can bring the palms together at the center of our heart or the center of our chest, the energetic heart. And from here, offer gratitude for our bodies, our breath, the time we've taken out to move and to practice together. So let's just take a deep breath in and out. Namaste. Thank you so much.